and welcome to the Filmstein podcast for another abridged episode. I'm joined by, as always, my friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
I'm glad everybody could join us today. Thank you very much for being here, because today we will be talking about Andrew DeYoung's 2025 release, Friendship. And I will say I was very much looking forward to this film, and it was mostly a disappointment. The first act of establishing Craig's place in the world, his loneliness, his strangeness, and him for a moment being adopted by Austin, a cool man, is no doubt the only thing interesting about this film. We bring it up occasionally, and this is just another film that screams that 15-20 minute short film and couldn't figure out what it really wanted to be, if anything at all. After the breakup of Austin and Craig, it basically meanders the rest of its runtime. Friendship does suggest these ideas of general angst and almost a sense of hyper self-awareness to the point of feeling like everything is awkward, and maybe even hints at social cultural drama of one of the players of whatever subculture says one out-of-pocket thing, one radical or real thing, and they are no longer part of the group. Not unlike what happens in the realm of cancel culture or Twitter mobs, where you thought these people were friends and you said something a little out of pocket and you're now an enemy. But if that was to be suggested in the film explicitly, it's only an observation. I'm impressed that the film went an hour and 40 minutes and did very little with its characters. I would have expected it to at least be a little more outrageous. We frankly didn't get enough of Craig and Austin together. Tammy didn't add anything. The son didn't add anything. Even after as much time we spent at Craig's job, it didn't add anything either. I'm not sure what I wanted out of Friendship, but it was definitely a miss for me. So I'm very curious, my man, how do you feel about Friendship?
I don't think I was looking forward to this movie quite as much as you were, but we saw the trailer. It looked good, but I'm with you. Maybe not quite as disappointed, but my expectations for the film were a lot different. I thought this movie was going to be darker. The trailer really focused on him saying, "You guys accepted me too fast. What's wrong with you?" So I thought this was going to be more of a man with some tight morals and principles and maybe sticking it to them or killing them, or I don't know, something along those lines. Because when he said that line in the actual film, it didn't hit quite like it hit in the trailer. In the trailer, it felt more of a cautionary tale. In the overall movie, it completely lost that. Was this movie trying to say something about adult friendships? I don't know. I feel like it was, then it wasn't. I'm also a bit torn on the humor. I don't know if I liked it or not. I found myself laughing at several points. I also got this Michael Scott vibe, especially when they were doing the boxing thing. And do you remember this show? I don't know how far back it was popular. It was called, I think, An Idiot Abroad. I think it was a British show, might be on Netflix, but essentially we took this man and took him all around the world to see the Great Wall of China and all these magnificent wonders around the world. And he was just so blunt about things. And it was pretty hilarious. I actually liked that show a lot. Like, he'd get to the Wall of China and say something like, "Man, it's really small, isn't it?" Like, just something you wouldn't really say out loud, but you might think it, especially if you're not cultured or if you're just an idiot. I don't know. The show really makes fun of that. So I kind of got those vibes here from our main character, Craig. And I do love The Office, but some of that charm from those characters, like Carl in An Idiot Abroad and Michael Scott, doesn't transcend to Craig like I thought it was going to in the rest of the film. I don't know if the jokes got a little too crass or too redundant, like the Marvel thing, and maybe too cringe at some points, like the singing and him eating the bar of soap, which I know is the point to that scene. We need him to cringe everyone else out enough to make them leave, right? But I don't know. I wasn't completely sold on the humor, but I did have fun in other parts of the film. Like when he busted through that door. And I did like that he came back and busted through that door at the end. But it's so cheap. It's not a cleverness laugh. It's a, oh, he busted through the door, idiot kind of laugh. I did, however, enjoy how insecure this man was. And I like how you put it that the rest of the film, after the first act, meanders around. But that's kind of the point. This man has been rejected and he's insecure. So this leads them to a mental breakdown. And it's just funny in the way that how many of these mental breakdowns have you seen in actual relationships? And it kind of cracked me up because he starts admiring this man up to the point of being obsessed with this man. It's creepy, but I just like this decay of imitation being the finest form of flattery into some sort of personality disorder now, and you want to become this person. You are now doing what this person does. I wouldn't have been surprised if he started dressing like Austin, right? He takes his wife to the same place they went to. He teaches his son about mushrooms like Austin taught him. And just his descent into becoming insane, but also losing his morals and his personality we got in the beginning, which is maybe where that disconnect is from keeping this character from being a Michael Scott type of character. Maybe that's what I didn't quite like about it, because we do lose some of that bluntness he has initially in the film. But again, that is, I guess, the point of the movie. Just this madness you can be driven into when someone has rejected you or insulted you or made you to be a fool in front of friends. I also like your point of Craig sort of representing this idea that all it takes is for you to say that one wrong thing to be kicked out of the organization, the friend group, the whatever. But we don't go anywhere with that, because he didn't really say that one thing that nobody else said out of bluntness or frankness. This man put soap in his mouth, and now it's just too weird. Like, you killed the vibe. No one wants to be associated with you. I also like that you bring up Tammy and her son. I'm not sure if the son, Stevie, is Craig's kid. Is he actually Devin's kid? I don't know. Just a thought there. But I would have liked it a lot better if when Tammy was lost in the sewers, that she was actually off with Devin somewhere and Devin had saved her and saved the day. I don't know. That would have been a bit funnier to me because, again, like you said, there's nothing too concrete in the entire film, and there's no point to Tammy, so we can pretty much have her do whatever we want. I guess for Tammy, it was a bit cathartic, and she realizes she doesn't want to be in a relationship with this man any longer, but we could have really made that happen any number of ways.
But then they walk it back immediately because she's happy to stay for a movie and she's attracted to him all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later.
You know what? I don't blame her, because I too was fooled into thinking, oh, he's a changed man. He learned his lesson. I don't know, whatever lesson there was to learn. But, you know, they had this happy moment. He's going to get the candles. They're going to sing happy birthday. The spark might reignite. But no, this man is still obsessed and he's crazy. I guess some kudos to sticking with the whole breakdown idea.
Yeah, I feel you. It was obviously leading to a point of some kind of explosive expose on something true. At the end, I like that Craig re-breaks into the house when all the friends are there. He's waving a gun around and stuff. He's crazy. I like that he's crazy all the way through, and he's, I guess, unreliable in that way, at least in some kind of social contract sense. But I was waiting, and the film was waiting for it. It was obvious that there should have been that moment when he was waving the gun around where he started to speak the truth. And all of a sudden, he was saying the truest thing in the whole film.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know what that would have been, but if he would have just kind of stuck it to him, and then he still gets arrested and everything, right? But there's some kind of shock that all the friends and Austin feel on, when Craig gets put into the car.
Yeah, he almost should have made a speech about, don't you guys see how lonely I am? How isolated I am? How little friends I have? This desperation for human connection? Something bizarre, blunt like that.
Yeah, and extrapolating that to the necessity that we all have for that.
Yes.
And obviously we should have developed Paul Rudd's character, Austin, a little bit more in his performance that he puts on, drawing some kind of parallel between these two in one way or another. Maybe spend more time with Austin and Craig earlier on, so we don't retread the exact same things when Craig, takes his son out when they go into sewers or whatever. I'm not sure I've seen such a repetitive film in that way, and also in writing and its jokes and whatnot. And I get that is just part of the language of comedy.
The charm of comedy, yeah.
But I'm definitely with you. It should have become much bigger than Obsession.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Mara's character, Tammy, should have done something outrageous, like going to Devon's and only kind of elevating that strange point of the kid not being Craig's kid, it being Devon's kid, because that was strange. I got that impression too.
Right, because he kept calling him Stevie or Steven. I don't know if he ever called him son or not called him anything, like parents do. We don't go around calling each other by our names or our formal mom, dad, son names. It's just a relaxed relationship, and not only his relationship with Stevie was anything but relaxed, but when Stevie kissed his mom on the lips, he was taken aback by that. And I guess that also made me feel like if that was his real dad, that probably wouldn't have creeped him out, because he would have seen that throughout his whole life and not felt so weird about it. But that could also just have been there for a joke.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough juice in here to correct the film ultimately. It could probably only really do justice to the premise and idea in a short film. Simply just suggesting that social bro code, friend code, social contract type thing. The film was begging to say something poignant, but its protagonist wasn't smart enough to say it. Or at the very least, Austin kind of puts him in his place with something poignant, and we continue to belittle and make this man a freak. I liked his job. It's kind of surrealistic, especially in like an Afro-surrealistic kind of sense. Not unlike what you saw in One of Them Days or Sorry to Bother You. Of course, it didn't mean anything to the film.
Yeah, it was really just a plot device to get him away from home or get him around other men. Yeah, I thought at some points I would end up feeling sorry for him or having some sort of pity for him. And I think I would have if his character would have had something to say. But he really didn't. And even in that awful licking a toad drug scene, that was so pointless. I mean, I was really taken aback in that sequence, because if we would have taken that out of the film wouldn't have changed anything at all. And is it just to add that he's so desperate, he's willing to pay $100 to lick a toad in the back of a Verizon phone company and even his drug exploration, instead of showing us something important, or at least important to him, is just him placing a subway order. I don't know, maybe I guess I want a little more meaning in scenes like that. They almost feel like sex scenes where a lot of the times they're so unnecessary and don't really contribute anything to the film. I'm curious how you felt about the editing and some of these transitions we had, because they left me a bit confused. There were some places where the camera really captured this almost sinister tone, but we don't do anything with it besides confuse the audience on what's about to happen. They're almost like these creeper shots or these exposure shots at points where I thought this film was about to start getting creepy or dark, and they don't. And then we have these circular transitions that felt very cartoony.
Yeah, no, of course, the cinematic language was at odds with most of the movie. Of course, the first act introduction could have been very much at home with the cinematography and editing, and it comes off a little bit surrealistic at times.
Yes.
And that comes with some necessity of having a point. So by the end of the film, when these edits are still happening, these transitions are, somewhat cool out of context at the very least, but they do suggest some kind of resolution or heightened importance. But in a film with so many pointless beats and threads where you could take just about anything out and it wouldn't change a thing, it's really just confusing, I guess. Especially after a stretch of 40 minutes where nothing happens. But alright, man, thank you very much for watching this movie and talking about it here today.
You're welcome.
Do you have a budget guess?
I'm going to go with 7 mil. We have an 8-4 film, hour 40, not a lot of moving pieces, not a lot of sets or crazy sets. I guess we do have various locations like his job in the woods and his house and Austin's house, but that's pretty much it. No crazy movements, no crazy stunts. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower than that even. I'm not sure on the status of this kind of movie when you have characters like Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson.
Yeah, the budget hasn't been disclosed, but I can't imagine it being more than $10 million. And with a limited release, it made $15.7 million, so it may have done okay. And over on Letterboxd, with 203,000 people, they weighed in at 3.6.
Yeah, I guess the people who like this movie really like this movie. Just at the top of my head, I think I'll give this film a 2. I had a fun time watching it. Like I said, some of the humor wasn't for me, but some of it was. Like when he filled up his coffee mug all the way to the rim and started walking to the meeting place with it, and that just cracked me up. And I think this film could have been something if it would have changed our main character. And not completely, but just made him mean a little something. Because we almost have something there with him not ratting out Austin about the wig. That secret staying between them, or maybe some of his morals returning, some of his loyalty returning. Because he did rat him out about the sewers. So you don't really know where their relationship stands then and what his obsession has made him. But him keeping that secret restored some of my faith in him. So it's like we have tiny bits and pieces of something good. Because even, again, that speech he makes about, you guys accepted me way too fast. As small as that is, I liked it a lot. I guess they did too, because that's what they showed in the trailer. But I don't know, this film was still an okay watch. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I could recommend it to somebody. It would have to be maybe a mood that they're looking for, but still a recommendation. There's a lot to Craig's character that I liked.
Yeah, that was the moment when I knew this movie wasn't gonna go anywhere, when Craig was telling Austin that you can't accept someone that quick and that there's rules to this.
Mm-hmm.
We sped through the big idea and never really readdressed it. I'm being a little generous probably, but this is a solid 1.5. So yeah, thank you again for talking about this film with me here today, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Short and sweet. Remember, we post every Wednesday and Friday with brand new episodes on all of the free feeds like YouTube, Patreon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even Pandora. And remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come right in, come request a movie. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon, at patreon.com/filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmistines, signing off.